This is the Modern Architect radio show and podcast. The Modern Architect features one-on-one interviews with renowned and cutting-edge architects, influencers, and sustainability leaders. Our show informs and illuminates the transformation that architecture brings to our cities, communities, and lives. And now, introducing the host of The Modern Architect, Tom Dioro.
For our guest today, we're welcoming Boris Musheyev, CPA. Boris is a tax and accounting firm specializing in tax planning and compliance for self-employed individuals and small businesses. They work with proven tax strategies to save their clients tens of thousands of dollars in taxes every year when implemented correctly. The firm personalizes each and every strategy to ensure the client's family and business. You can find them on the web at borismtax.com. Again, that's borismtax.com. Today's episode is made possible by Modeler, the rapidly growing community for AEC professionals to find and share design inspiration. Created and maintained by architects, join hundreds of thousands of other AEC professionals who are part of the Modeler community. Visit modeler.com and follow Modeler on your favorite social media channels for regular design inspiration. Hello, Boris. Really honored and excited to have you on the show today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored you reached out. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Boris. Boris, as we were talking in our digital green room about a quote that you had, and I'm going to say it, but I want you to say it again. If you have a tax preparer, you don't have a tax planner. Maybe
You're not saying it with enough passion, Tom.
Oh, okay. Then you got to say it then, Boris. Let it rip.
Let's do it. If you have a tax preparer, you do not have a tax planner.
Wow. And how so? And why so?
Right. So before we understand this quote, which is that if you have a tax preparer, you do not have a tax planner, I think it's very important for a lot of people to understand what is really tax planning, right? And how is this different from tax preparation, something that you are currently doing. And unfortunately, a lot of people do not do any tax planning, and it's not their fault. It's because they don't know about it, right? A lot of them think that tax planning is done after the year is over, when the time comes to tax preparation. But very often business owners find themselves, when it comes to tax preparation, their accountant tells them, well, look, you did pretty well for yourself, and that's a good problem to have, right? You made money, that's a good problem to have. So I understand you have to pay in taxes, but you did well for yourself, so it's a good problem to have. So, and they think, well, here I am, I'm going to get some tax planning advice from my preparer, but he's not giving me any advice. Well, that's because there was no planning done, right? You came to prepare your taxes after the year is over. And that's what it really means. If you have a tax preparer, you do not have a tax planner. And tax planning is something that's done during the year, right? It's looking at a person's life, regulatory requirements, and the ways that the tax code affects their tax entity structure so that you can plan accordingly every year before the year is over. And that is called tax planning. Unfortunately, also a lot of people think that tax planning is for big folks, right? Big fish in the game. We got billionaires, millionaires, multimillionaires. But the truth is, no, it's also for small business owners as well. If you got a few $100,000 in profit, well, guess what? You're definitely overpaying, probably by at least $10,000. And I can say that with certainty because this is something that I do day in, day out. I've been doing this for years, and all we specialize in is in tax planning. So any business owner that is profiting at least a couple of $100,000 in their business and they're not doing proper tax planning. And proper tax planning means before the year is over, being proactive, right, and using tax strategies. So if you have a tax preparer, you do not have a tax planner.
Understood. Boris, what was the inspiration for you to be so astute and passionate about tax planning?
So I always wanted to be in the field of taxes, right? I started even when I first went to my first year in college. I went to H&R Block to take some courses. I took their courses. I wanted to be, prepare tax. I really wanted to get into the field. Then when I graduated college, I went, one of the awesome business schools here in New York, Baruch College. I got my degree in accounting. I was after that, after I got my degree in accounting, and I know I did all the qualifications, got my CPA license. I was sucked into the world of traditional tax preparation, traditional accounting, and I've gained a lot of experience. So don't want to hit down too much on them. But what ended up happening in my last job before I opened my business, I was preparing almost 500 tax returns in 3.5 months during the tax season. Think about that. I was a factory of preparing and churning out tax returns. Now, most of it were individuals, and those that were businesses weren't getting any proper advice from me, right? And my clients were losing confidence in me. I was losing confidence in myself. To be honest with you, I was thinking I'm in the wrong profession. I had major stress problems going on. I used to work a lot of hours, and I didn't find fulfillment in my work. So then I decided to go out on my own, but I still didn't know that I'll be doing tax planning. When I went out on my own, I was fortunate enough to come across some tax gurus, legitimate tax gurus that I learned from. And I realized and I learned about tax planning and the power of tax planning. And that's when I decided, within, I think, 6 months of opening my firm as a tax preparation business, because that's all I knew how to do, is to shift to be a tax planner, because I realized that in my experience, I know so much about taxes, but I've never utilized it properly for business owners, right? Just basically putting that knowledge into something that's called tax planning rather than waiting for somebody to come to me at the end of the year. That's what I did, the whole revamp of my business at that time, still me only. Right now, we have a great team of tax professionals, experts working with us. But at that time, I've kind of switched the direction to tax planning. And I've realized how much more fulfillment I get from that, and how much more business owners save money on taxes by getting the right advice. So it's no longer quantity about us, right? Which the background that I come with, 500 returns in 3.5 months. Now it's more of a quality. So, and that is how I ended up in this tax planning, I guess area. Yeah.
I like the word that you used, and I do not know if it's synonymous with taxes, and that is fulfillment.
Yeah.
Was that something that was obviously very important to you, to have a sense of an experience of fulfillment?
I didn't know that I'm not being fulfilled up until I started doing something different that was really delivering value to the clients. I knew that there was something that was missing as I was, being a regular tax guy, right? It was not those long hours and dreaded tax season and like 500 returns and nights in the office, right? I knew there was something had to be different. So when I discovered this new field and I started being really, really good at it, I was like, wow, I'm getting so much fulfillment out of it. And that's when I really came to realization, wow, this is what we wanted to do. And I mean, I wanted to do, and that is why I am now expanding this business model a lot more for our firm.
Now, what other than your experience and your curiosity to get to a point where that you acknowledge that business, I think if I'm correct, businesses, primarily small businesses, are overpaying about approximately $10,000 a year. Did you arrive at that, or that's just a case study of a number of clients and those in the industry?
Yeah, it's a case study.
Okay.
It's a case study done by my own firm. It is not on any national average or anything of that sort. It's the number of clients that we brought in, number of prospects that I spoke to over the past few years, hundreds of business owners, right? Tons of tax plans that we did. And we've always seen at least $10,000 on savings on each tax plan.
Are you at liberty to share the largest amount? You don't have to name names or companies, or you don't have to even answer it. I'm just curious as to.
Yeah, I'll tell you the most recent largest one we had. I just delivered it this week, a tax plan, a very comprehensive plan, and it is going to be saving a client close to $150,000 just for this year alone.
Now, what's it like telling the client how much they're going to be saving for you?
It's the expression on their face is astounding. They're so appreciative, and they had no idea that they could have done this with little tweaks in their business.
Yeah, speaking of those little tweaks in their business, but if you add that 150,000 and you bring it, say, put 5 years on it, you're actually longer. You're saving them millions of dollars.
Right.
Wow. That is this a proprietary maybe program or system or formula that you use, leverage?
Actually, no, Tom. That's
Wow.
that's what's ironic about it. It's our tax code. It's being able to utilize the tax code for your clients. One thing that I've learned this year or past year, I think, is that we always read, like, not learned, I shouldn't say learned, but something that I realized in the past 18 months, I think we always read in the news that IRS is out to get you, and
Yeah.
IRS is out to get you, right? Let's not get that, like, they are out to get you, but they're out to get you if you're doing something wrong, right? Because the tax code, and this is what, the tax code, if you understand this, everything will be game, right?
Mm.
The tax code was designed to incentivize business owners to produce as much as they can so they can put it back into the economy. Aside the fact from what we hear on the news, and aside the fact that, all these tax law coming changes that are coming out by the new administration, at the end of the day, you know, the reason that the rich people are able to get away with paying little to no tax, they are not doing anything illegal. Because if they were doing something illegal, Tom, they would be in jail,
Mm.
right? They're doing something that is written in the tax code. And that something can be done by everyday American. And government wants to incentivize businesses. I'll give you a very good example. The most recent example, new president, President Biden, ambitious about tax hikes, wants to tax the rich. If you take a look at his tax code, right, they want to get away with the oil and gas companies and all these oil and gas incentives because they want to go into green energy renewal. Well, can you take a look at the tax code and see that they're now having incentives on the green energy renewal and tax strategies around that? What do you think rich people are going to do? Or those that know the tax code, or those that have the professionals? They're going to write, all right, let's shift our strategy from oil and gas to green energy renewal or something of that sort, right? Or work around the tax code. Let's utilize the tax code. That's it. The tax code is made to incentivize us in a most legal way possible. We just have to do it right, legally, and we have to have the right people. And that always comes back to the quote: if you have a tax preparer, you do not have a tax planner.
It certainly does. You're listening to the Modern Architect radio show and podcast. We're talking today with Boris Musheyev, CPA. For more information, feel free to visit website of borismtax.com. Again, that's borismtax.com. I like that incentive, a tax code incentivize. It reminds me of, and obviously in architecture, there's constraints have actually enabled and inspired some great work. You think it's applicable in taxes as well?
Repeat that
The
again.
constraints have inspired and incentivized great work. And do you think it's applicable in tax planning as well?
Constraints in what way, though?
Anyway, that there's laws, requirements, or mandates that say this is what there has to be done, but it enables a creative way,
I see yeah.
means of.
That depends how you look at it as well, right? So, yes, a lot of people do feel like it's a lot of constraints. It has also put a heavy measure on the fact that accountants think, oh no, we have to be conservative, right? Oh no, we can't do certain strategy. Oh no, we don't want an IRS audit because of those constraints. But in reality, no. And you don't have to be afraid of the IRS audit if you're doing everything legitimately, right? You don't have to worry about constraints, so to speak, if you have the right professionals and you know what you're doing and you can understand the tax code. And most importantly, Tom, everybody who wants to utilize the tax code and use the tax strategies, they have to be proactive about it. So you cannot be like, all right, great, I'm going to hire myself a professional and we're going to dissect the tax code for tax year 2021 in January of 2022. No, right? You have to dissect the tax code for yourself, use it proactively, the strategies during the year.
Can you provide some other examples? Maybe not so large as the $150,000 savings with one firm, but someone who thought, yeah, I really don't think I need a tax planner, just a individual or a sole proprietor?
Yeah, let's take a small business owner making a couple of $100,000. Let's say he's taking home $300,000, right? In most cases, in my professional experience, what I've seen is one of the few things, right? The first things first is the entity structure. We always have to make sure we have the right entity for ourselves, right? Now, a lot of people by default turn to S corporation. I actually have a book written on S corporations. It's an scorptaxbook.com. No dashes. Anybody can get it. It's like $9, really minimal fee for a download, but you learn so much about the S corporation. Now, people revert to S corporation right away because that's usually the ideal choice, right? Some of them are not structured as an S corporation, and when they are an S corporation, they're not doing things properly as an S corporation. They're not taking out the proper salary, or they don't have the proper retirement account set up for themselves, right? Those are the most basic things, right? And now, with President Biden taking office, he proposed a lot of legislative changes. A lot of them have been adjusted by the House, or really the Congress overall, right? And one thing that is now becoming certain is that S corporations are not going to be the same as they were before for anybody that's making over $400,000 in take home, right? That's what it seems like with the current BBB, which is Build Back Better plan that they have proposals. So one of the things in tax planning comes, hey, is my entity structure correct? Is it good for me? If I have an S corporation, is it good for me? If I have a Schedule C sole proprietor or multi-member LLC or single member LLC, is it good for me, right? Depends how much income are you making, right? Let's take a look at that. Just that restructure alone could save you at least $5,000, right? And we're talking like on a very, very small scale, right? You either restructure it, have a proper salary, and so forth, right? Another thing is that benefits. There are fringe benefits that are available to business owners, but you can't take those fringe benefits if you're a different type of entity, right? S corporation versus a C corporation versus an LLC. There's different ways of treatment of the fringe benefits that you can take advantage of, right? So a lot of people could take advantage of the fringe benefits if they're set up properly, but we have to know their tax situation. You can't you can't restructure your entity, or you can't start using the fringe benefits after the year is over. That's why I always say this is something that should do before the year end, because this requires some planning and putting some action items and start reaping the benefits for the years to come, right? The third biggest thing that I've seen, a lot of people are very, 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 very interested in retirement, right? They've got the financial planner, or they speak to the financial planner, and the financial planner tells them, oh yeah, for your situation, let's say SEP IRA will be great, right? Okay, but no, they're not looking at it from the tax standpoint, because from the tax standpoint, the SEP IRA could kill the guy if he's got employees. Or there's a better option if the business owner has more cash flow and they want to put away more money, save taxes, save for retirement, right? So when we do tax planning, even though I don't have securities license, we don't open up retirement accounts, but we give them options, right? Hey, the retirement with employees, this is how much you save. Retirement without employees, you've got several options. Or retirement with employees, you've got several options. This is what the savings will look like, right? Calculate different scenarios, educate, right? That's what tax planning is. It's educating, right? And that's what we're doing. And the clients appreciate the choices that they have, right? All right, great. And another simple strategy that we have, or that we use for our clients, we recommend, shifting some of their income to their children. For example, anybody in the United States in America, I'm talking about everybody, Tom, right, can basically get a job and work. Well, not everybody can get a job. I don't know about that. But meaning to say, what I'm trying to say is that everybody can earn up to $12,550. These are 2021 numbers, right? Let's just round it off to 12,000. Earn up to $12,000 and not pay any income tax on it, and not required to file federal income tax, because that's your standard exemption, right? So basically, if a person has the only income $12,550 for the year, he does not pay any income tax on that. So then it opens up an opportunity. It's like, great, well, you've got kids, 10-year-old, 13-year-old, 15-year-old, that can help you in your business. Why don't you pay them a salary of $12,550? You get it as business deduction, and the child doesn't pay any income tax on that. So you basically shifted about $12,000 from your 30% bracket to a zero bracket of your children. And a lot of people have kids. And these kids do help in businesses. Think about social media. Teenagers these days can do so much social media content for their parents. You try to hire somebody on Upwork to do social media content management, they get paid $50, $60 an hour. Pay that to your child. Let your child do that and shift some of that income. So these are just, the basic strategies we're talking about. Then we get a little bit more advanced if the clients have real estate. Wife has a business or they have more than one business, then we get really creative. And that's when it gets really juicy because we start utilizing tax code in the most efficient, legal way to save client money on taxes. Does that kind of cover
Very
some of
well.
the stuff?
Very, very well
Okay.
and very clear. Uh, the options and educating. How do you keep up with the changes that seem to be almost weekly?
Yeah. So, the one thing I'm grateful for in our country is that we have a Congress, right? So like President Biden proposed a big tax change, and yes, we had to keep up with his proposal and take that into consideration. Start doing planning for some of our clients, proactively reaching out, like, hey, I think this is going to affect you. This might affect you. We don't know yet, right? But we looked into it from like kind of high overview, right? But now as we're getting closer to them passing the law, that's where we kind of go deep into the tax law and be like, all right, how does will it really, and how will it really affect our clients, right? So one way to keep up with it is, I am personally subscribed to different types of publications. I travel the country for different tax seminars, right? I spent, I invest into these programs and events and learning from the top tax coaches in the country, right? And seminars and conferences. And as a CPA, you're also required to get a continuing education credit. And how do you spend, what kind of a continuing education credit is up to you. So we have that flexibility. I can either go and get a regular $150 continuing education credit and just get some updates on to prepare a personal tax return, or I can really use that and go, and learn much more advanced strategies. So it's I wouldn't say it's hard to keep up. It's a lot to keep up, but once you make it your business priority, and once it is part of your priority, and you understand the tax code, and I think one of the things I pride myself and our firm on the fact that we do understand it. It kind of becomes easier to keep track of it. But you must be subscribed and attend, and always, of course, be proactive about
I
it.
like that. Being proactive about it. Is that something that's a part of your culture and workplace?
Absolutely.
Okay. And share why it means so much to you, not just professionally, but even personally, why it means much to you.
Just I was telling this to somebody recently, just because of the story that I just told you, right, about myself. Like, I don't want to be an accountant that I don't want our clients to leave us just because they only came to us once a year and we spoke to them once a year. Right? We're doing tax planning. That means we have to be proactive, and it's part of the service that we will be reaching out to you. So we do have those systems and process in place where accountants are reaching out to clients, being proactive about their strategies. Like, hey, are you implementing this? Are you doing this? Why not? What can we do to help you? Let's get the ball rolling, right? So we are doing that on our part, and that is important to me because I come from a different background that didn't do that.
Yeah, and I noticed another a change in what's the word, nomenclature. So you said invest, and you were saying spent, but you changed it quickly to invest. I like I like that, because I think even if you, in my opinion, if I purchase some gum, well, I'm investing in the gum because it's not just I want to enjoy it. I want to have fresh breath. I don't want to feel self-conscious. So there's something that there's a return from your investment. What's your thought on that?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why I corrected myself, because we're so used to using the word cost, right? And it's part of the process of self-development, right? That I personally undergo through as well. Is that, hey, we have to look at things positively, right? So that is my. You caught me on something personal, right? So that is my personal thing, right? So no, because it is really an investment, right? It doesn't matter how much money we've put into it, because we get a lot more out of it. So when I travel the country and I spend money on travel and on hotels and these expensive seminars and part of these tax networking groups, I bring a lot more to the clients and helps us stand out a lot more, which is one of the reasons you reached out to us, right? Because you've seen those emails that we sent, for example.
Exactly. This is the Modern Architect radio show and podcast. We're talking today with Boris Musheyev, CPA. For more information, feel free to visit the website at borismtax.com. Again, that's borismtax.com. Boris, with business and commerce constantly changing, the expectations and outcomes evolve as well. What's changed in your experience in the last, say 2 years even?
You mean like overall in businesses?
Yes, how things have just evolved. We've moved more from I'll say this example, a brick and mortar type of operation or retail, physical, where so much is now digital.
Yeah. So that's a great question. And I've definitely seen changes, right? And I felt it as well. A lot more businesses now are very, what's the word? Shoot. But they adapt very quickly, right? They have adapted and they've done much better. And they have a completely different mindset. 2 years ago, when I asked somebody to come on Zoom, like pre-COVID, it was a project. Like I had to create a link, which meetborisnow.com, and will bring you directly to my Zoom room, right? And I had to be like, I didn't want to tell people I sent you an email, it's in a calendar. I just be like, hey, just open the browser, go to meetborisnow.com, right? I don't even have to do that anymore, right? Because everybody's so used to it. Everybody has Zoom installed on their computer. They just need the ID to log in. Before COVID, I had hesitation from a client signing up with us for tax planning because I was in a different state. Now it's second nature. Like they expect me to be in another state. Hell, they wouldn't even mind if I'm in another country, probably, right? Like
Another
it's
planet.
completely different. Yeah. Oh, and that's the word I was looking for. Innovative, right? A lot of businesses got innovative and they make a lot more money. I have seen that 2021, besides what the news say, my God, besides what the news say, businesses are really successful. We've got so many entrepreneurs, so many businesses making money. It's not even funny how many people I get on the phone. Almost every other call that I speak to prospects or we speak as a team, right? They say, my business is doing much better this year. I've been making money like I have never done before. We've seen an uptick. This is the first time. This is the best we've done in years. This is the highest year that I had. We have seen this substantial growth in businesses. And even more so, people are now looking and waking up to the fact that, hey, there's tax planning, tax savings opportunity that I need. Some being proactive, they say, last year I didn't do so well, but this year it's great, I want to do. Or some already been making money, been overpaying in taxes, and now they're making a lot more. They're like, I think something needs to be done.
That's tremendous insight and experience that if you're experiencing that, others must as well. It's just not on the traditional media channels that, hey, business. There's quite a few businesses actually doing very,
Yeah,
very well.
absolutely. It's not.
Wow.
And the whole thing, how you view the tax code and how rich people get away with paying little to no tax, for example. Nobody's in jail for that. They're only in jail if they've done something illegitimate, not legal, right? We just follow the law. True, law maybe have some major flaws in it. Maybe they didn't think we're going to have billionaires at some point, and they're putting plugs on those laws, like with the current BBB plan. There's certain proposals. I'm not going to get into detail, but they're not eliminating it, but they're putting it certain limits, which is okay, right? Which is okay, but that's why we have a democracy, so to speak, right? We'll look at that and whatever it is. But the point is, at the end of the day, the tax code is still incentivized for business owners to produce, and produce.
That's a lot of production.
Yeah.
A lot of production, Boris. Boris, what would you like to share with your audience today that we may not have touched on in your show?
The most important thing that I really wanted to touch upon was, if you have a tax preparer, you do not have a tax planner. I think that every business owner owes it to themselves or to herself about, exploring an option of tax planning, getting the right professional, and exploring that option. Go ahead and explore that option, see what it could save you on taxes, what the potential savings are. I think everybody owes it to themselves.
Boris, it's been a real honor and pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you very much, and I hope you consider coming back again. This is very informative, insightful, and highly useful. Thank you very much, Boris.
Thank you, Tom.
You've been listening to the Modern Architect radio show and podcast. Our guest today has been Boris Musheyev, CPA. Boris is a tax and accounting firm specializing in tax planning and compliance for self-employed individuals and small businesses. The firm personalizes each and every strategy to ensure their client's family and business. For more information, borismtax.com. Again, borismtax.com as well. Join us again next time when we welcome another outstanding architect, engineer, influencer, or civic leader committed to positive and sustainable cities, communities, and lives. Thank you. Today's episode is made possible by Modeler, the rapidly growing community for AEC professionals to find and share design inspiration. Created and maintained by architects, join hundreds of thousands of other AEC professionals who are part of the Modeler community. Visit modeler.com and follow Modeler on your favorite social media channels for regular design inspiration.